Hey everyone, I'm Armor Gaming. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to a Monster Legends video on the Faraday Cells chest. The Faraday Cells super chest. Is it worth it? Is it not worth it? Let me tell you straight out, in my personal opinion, I think this chest is probably your best value. Reason being is that Faraday, regardless of which version you get, whether it's the basic version, the electrolyzer, or the variations, the discharger and the I think it's obscure, they're all really great nemesis monsters. I think Faraday is probably the best base nemesis monster, where you can buy them for $20 and you got yourself a really great nemesis monster. And I'm gonna go on wiki and explain why that is. And I've made several videos on the electrolyzer because I think a lot of people overlooked him. So if you're thinking of buying a chest, if you haven't bought any nemesis chest, if you're upset you missed the ruby chest or the Sammy chest, you might want to pick up this chest because again, you get a really great monster regardless of what you get. You know, assuming it is a 50% chance to get any Faraday cells, that means you would get 4 nemesis cells. That means you would get 4 nemesis cells. So at the very least, you're going to walk away with 1 nemesis monster. But from what we've been seeing, it really appears that it's way more than 50%. Yeah, because of all the videos I've done so far, I don't seem to remember any one where I only got 4 cells. And so with that being said, we are going to be opening chests today. Again, a huge thanks to Ruby. We're going to open 2 Faraday Cell super chests. But before we do that, let's talk about why exactly any version of Faraday is a good Faraday. And so Faraday, if you don't know, the reason this nemesis monster is great is because of his trait, Anticipation. When an enemy performs a skill with an extra turn, Faraday performs an extra turn just before. In addition, status effects have a 35% less accuracy against him, so he has the tough trait. In addition, he has Anticipation, where if an enemy monster uses an extra turn skill, you immediately go before whatever monster gets that extra turn. For example, if you're facing a turn transfer monster, like a Sammy, like a Demise, like a Cloud, and they give their attacker an extra turn, Faraday cuts in the turn order and gets to attack before the enemy attacker, which is great because that then leads to so many combos. And specifically against Voltic and Zyla, that's when he really shines. So let me just show you his skills and why he's so amazing. The first reason this monster is so good, well, first of all, this monster, if you have him only at level 100, you can take on a team of full level 130s. I do it all the time with Faraday. If they rely on Voltic, that enemy team is as good as dead. It doesn't matter that they're all at level 130. Like, that's how powerful level 100 or level 105 Faraday is. He obliterates Voltic. He obliterates extra turn monsters. But primarily against Voltic and Zyla, that's where he really shines, and I have several videos of that. And I'll try to link in the description below. But with that being said, take a look at this skill right here, 9-Tail Zap. This is why the base version is really great. Deals moderate thunder damage to all enemies, applies blind to all enemies. Okay, it's an AoE blind, what's the big deal? This is a big deal. It has 100% accuracy, meaning you're not going to miss the damage, you won't miss that 40 damage, which means you're also not going to miss the blind. Now of course the enemy monster can have harden, tough, whatever, but again, it's a 100% accuracy skill. So even if they have harden, well then it's an 80% chance to land. So what I've done, and I'll show it on the level 1 to 100 video, when you face an enemy Voltic and he does his extra turn skill, you can start the game off with 9-Tail Zap. So what happens? Even if you're facing a team of 130s, you're going to be doing the AoE blind, so now the allies are going to be blinded, Voltic may or may not be blinded. And then let's see what else we have. If we look at Bask over here, deals 40 damage and it's an AoE sunburn. So now Voltic does another extra turn skill, Faraday goes again, does Bask, and now all of the enemy monsters have sunburn, which reduces their life by 10%, but more importantly, it also reduces their accuracy by 15%. And so essentially you just continue to cripple the enemy. You're reducing their accuracy to the point where they're not going to be able to land an attack against you. And what else do you have? Electro Belt over here, we have a total blind. What does this skill do? It reduces the enemy's monster accuracy by 100%. Meaning, once again, if you're facing a bunch of 130s, so what? It doesn't matter. They're going to be blinded, they're going to be sunburned, and then one of them is going to be total blinded, which means their attack is absolutely going to miss. And Voltic can't kill your Faraday, let's be honest, it's thunder against thunder. Voltic has 3 thunder skills and then 1 special base skill, and that special base skill is really weak. So a base Faraday is a great monster. He breaks chains, he breaks combo chains, he's great. In addition, if you want to finish off Voltic, you have these skills like Stamina Void and Faraday Cage. You know, or not Faraday Cage, that one's bad. Like Stamina Void and over here, Stamina Expel. Also no cooldown, so you can counter cooldowns activated. My Faraday actually has this skill as opposed to Stamina Void, because I don't believe he's rank 2, he's rank 1, so he's 105. But I've used this to stop Timerion Voltic teams, and it works wonders. I love it. I love this monster so much. He's great. I personally have the Earth version, And sometimes I'm thinking, why didn't I just get the base version? The base version is more than good enough because he stops the enemy's teammates in his tracks. A lot of people like to think, okay, if you kill Voltic, you're done. No, you're not done, because you still have two 130s on the enemy team, especially for you lower level players or you underdogs. Like, I consider myself an underdog. In the league I'm in right now, every single team I fight is 130s, level 10 runes. Every single time. Like, I never get a break. Which means, if I can get a Faraday and just level him to 105 and be that level 130 team, that's super good for me. That is great. So I highly recommend this chest. If you get the electrolyzer, do not be upset. He's a great monster. Again, I have a lot of videos I'm gonna link in the description for Faraday. He's so phenomenal. If you get this monster, ideally, here's the cool thing about this monster. You don't need to run him as with speed runes. You don't, right? Because he has the anticipation trait. That is his main selling point. You put 2 team speed on this monster to help your team, and then you give him a high level strength rune. That way he can deal damage. Or if you just want to do the chain break, you give him 3 team speed. But really, the ideal build for him, in my opinion, is 2 team speed, 1 strength, and just watch him wreck any enemy team that has churn transfer, or any enemy team that relies on a 130 Voltic to finish you off. Trust me, he just does phenomenal. In addition to that, he has a sword relic, he has a trap relic, so he can definitely do some stuff. He's in the Evil Legion, Superheroes, exclusive. Voltic isn't Superheroes. He's a Thunder monster, so every war, if people are still relying on putting Voltic on defense for team wars, you are going to have such an easy time in Superheroes and in Thunder Wars. Oh my gosh, like, you definitely, I really think, I always state, the number 1 Nemesis monster is Samuel the Plague Carrier. The number 2 Nemesis monster is Ruby, Zyron the Ruby. The number 3 Nemesis monster, not counting Sammy again, because I would technically consider Fever Scatter as number 3, but just counting Nemesis monsters, I always have a difficult time deciding on who's the best. For 3rd place, I always am debating between a Faraday, any Faraday version, a Warthog, the dark version specifically, or Talos, because I think all of those monsters, any version of him too, I think they're all phenomenal in their own way, and I've never been able to put a 3rd place Nemesis. Like, who is the Nemesis that you should have? It's difficult, but definitely Faraday. Electrolyzer, if you get him, he's great. Let me quickly go to the Obscure, and I always get confused. This is the Obscure, this is a Discharger, and based on the weapons, you would think this one is magic based and this one is dark based, but you know, one of them is earth and one of them is dark, and I always get confused. I think this is the earth one and this is a dark one, I think. Let me scroll down. Yeah, this is a dark one. Isn't that confusing? Doesn't the Discharger look like he's a dark one? I've mentioned this before too. It's just like why give him an earth based weapon? I don't know, but like, give him rocks or something. Let's talk about the Obscure. What does the Obscure do? Why is the Obscure so good? It's because he has crazy DOT damage. Look at that. Sinister Belt. Massive dark damage to a single enemy, bleeding and poison. That is easily going to kill. Infamous Whip. 45 dark based AoE, bleeding and poison to all of the enemy team. So very similar to what the Electrolyzer, well, not very similar, but like, they kind of do the same thing, in that if you're fighting a Voltic, guess what? Voltic isn't going to be the only one that suffers, because his teammates are going to suffer too. So Voltic attacks you, you get your turn in, you can AoE bleed and poison the enemy teammates. And then Voltic, whether it lands or not, that's another point. So now the teammates on the enemy team, they're going to have bleeding and poison. They're going to lose 25% of their life for the next 3 turns. They won't even live the next 3 turns. Their damage output is reduced, so even if they do manage to land an attack on you, you don't need to worry about that. But in addition to that, you can apply Bask. So now their accuracy is reduced by 15%. They lose an extra 10%. So 10% on Bask, and then 25 on Whip. That's 35% of the enemy's life. And then you can use Sinister Belt to single target one of them and just kill them. Like, oh my gosh, the amount of DLT on this monster is insane. And then you can always run Shining Fever, which is a single sunburn and burning. That together is 25% and reduced accuracy. He's a great monster, this one, the Obscure. Especially, also, I personally think if you're an underdog, Electrolyzer might work better for you, just because you reduce accuracy on those 130 monsters. Whereas the Obscure, I think if you're at the elite level of 130 versus 130, where you're fighting enemies that are extremely tanky, have incredible relics, then that's when you want to really work with the DOT damage. Because with that poison, that bleeding, that reduces damage output, all of that, that's when you really want to work with that. So I'm not saying he doesn't work for you. If you get the obscure, you should definitely be more than happy. He could definitely work, but that's just, especially if you give him a strength rune, right? If you give him a high level strength rune, 2 team speed, as soon as the enemy goes and then you go, you can start taking them out one by one. You have really strong skills. And then the last one to discuss is the Discharger, which is the one I personally bought. And I think this is the one everyone recommended people because you kill Voltic in one turn essentially. He's that powerful. But the thing is, and this is what I've been arguing, if you're an underdog player, if you're facing 130s with level 10 runes and you have level 100s, level 105s, decent runes level 5 to 8 or 5 to 7, you don't want to kill Voltic in one turn. You want to abuse his teammates before you kill Voltic. I want to let Voltic attack me. I do. I'm like, Voltic, attack me with your weak electrodynamic assault. Attack me with your weak 20k volts. Don't attack me with 50k volts, but attack me with static shocks. I don't mind. Give me more turns in. So what I like to do, what you could do, if you run Mud Whip, this is like pretty much an auto kill on Voltic because it's 70 damage, and in addition you get elemental advantage. So this skill is essentially 105 damage. At that point, I honestly, if you run this monster to kill Voltic, I kind of feel like you don't even need a strength rune. You could pretty much just kill him with a skill like this. You could run 3 team speed. You can run a life if you're worried about dying, a team life if you want to help your teammates. Like, that's how powerful this one is. Just because of that elemental advantage, 105 damage against any thunder monster, not just Voltic. I focus on Voltic because he's the main threat, but any thunder monster. But going back to this monster, the cool thing about him is that he has a stun skill. So similar to the Electrolyzer, where the Electrolyzer reduces the accuracy of the enemy teammates, this monster can instead immobilize one of the enemy monsters by stunning them. So once again, against ranked up monsters, blah blah blah, Voltic attacks you, well, you can choose to stun the next monster in the turn order. Because if they're all 130s and you have level 100s, probably the case that the next teammate after Voltic is going to be his teammate. So you could immobilize him, you can stun him. But actually for the Discharger, I recommend running a skill from Skills Group 2, Gravel Strap, which is actually a 40 damage AoE Quicksand. And a skill like this deals an initial 60 damage to the enemy Voltic. It has a chance to apply Quicksand, but then it also applies Quicksand to the allies. And then of course you want to combo that with Discomforting Bask, 40 thunder based damage, Sunburn, reducing accuracy, reducing damage. Now they have Quicksand and Sunburn, that's a 10%, 15%, 25%. He's a great monster too. And so at the end of the day, you have to make your decision of which one you want. If you want a monster to kill Xylan Voltic, if you have low level runes and you just want to kill Xylan Voltic really fast, like on the first turn, Faraday the Discharger is, in my opinion, your go-to monster. You don't need higher rune, you don't need that high runes, you don't need to have the best monsters or anything. This monster at level 100, even, I would imagine you running Clay Belts, you know, you have a chance to, if you don't kill Voltic, you have a chance to stun him. If you do kill him, well then he's dead. If you attack him and he's not dead, on the next turn, well then you can Gravel Strap or Discomforting Bask and even damage the enemy teammates. So definitely a great monster, regardless of which you go with, regardless of which one you get, the Discharger, the Obscure, the Electrolyzer, they are all really, really great Nemesis monsters. And this, in my opinion, is the best base version of all the Nemesis monsters. He really, truly is. And with that said, it is time to open up some chests. So let me do a quick little purchase. Purchasing item. And let's see what we get. Hopefully it's something good. Hopefully I didn't jinx myself. And Obscure Cells. Electrolyzer Cells. Obscure Cells. Electrolyzer Cells. That's a 50%. Electrolyzer Cells. Discharger Cells. Discharger Cells. And Electrolyzer Cells. We got a perfect Nemesis chest. 100% Electrolyzer Cells. That is amazing. I'm telling you, it does not seem like it's a 50% chance. The odds of getting this, if it was truly 50%, that's not the case. Electrolyzer, Obscure, Electrolyzer, Electrolyzer, Discharger, Discharger, Electrolyzer. So it seems like I got a lot of Electrolyzer, which is great because I was really boosting him up of how useful he can be. And then I think I got enough for one of the, is it Obscure? Electrolyzer, Obscure 1, let me see, is there another Obscure? Yeah, I got 100 Obscure, and then let's see, the Discharger. The Discharger, I got 1, got 2, okay, so I basically got every single Nemesis monster. That is awesome, that is great. So this is the first chest opening, we are doing one more. And alright, let's do this. I had to ask Ruby to make sure she wanted me to get another chest after just pulling all Nemesis cells, and she said yes, so here we go. Discharger cells, Electrolyzer cells, Electrolyzer cells, Leviana cells, Discharger cells, Electrolyzer cells, Toymaster cells, and Vadia Nanoy cells. So not as good as the last chest. I was really hopeful when I got 3 in a row, but then we got Leviana, and then so 1, 2, 3, so 5 out of 8. Again, still above 50%, so still pretty good. We got more discharger cells, we got electrolyzer cells, we got discharger, so that's another 100 for discharger, another 100 for electrolyzer, and another 50. So 150 for electrolyzer, 2 for discharger. That still puts the chest of this value at $50. So same as when buying the Nemesis monster when they first came out, except now we have some extra random legendary cells. So overall, a pretty darn good haul in my opinion. Let me actually check the vault and see how many cells we actually have for Faraday, because she actually purchased a chest in the morning. So overall, after buying a total of 3 chests, you guys only saw me do 2 of them, but we've bought a total of 3 chests, 450 for the electrolyzer, 350 for discharger, and 150 for the obscure. If we combine the variations, the 150 and the 350, and so when Nemesis Monster were first released, the variations cost $30 each. So considering we have enough to craft them 5 times over, that's the equivalent to $150. As for the electrolyzer, he costs $20. We would be able to craft them 4 times over, and then have an extra 50 cells, which 20 times 4, that's 80. Added in an extra 10 because of the extra 50 cells, that's $90 value for electrolyzer, and then the other 2 combined 150. So pretty darn good value in my opinion. These chests have really been giving players some good things. So with that being said, that is going to conclude this video. I want to invite you all to the Monster Legends Coalition Discord. As I mentioned previously, it's a great place to interact with fellow members of the Monster Legends community. We have a channel where you can talk about anything you want, channels solely about Monster Legends stuff, a channel for your chest openings so you can make fun of the bad stuff other people have gotten, make fun of that unranked order they got from the legendary chest that they gambled on. It's a good place to be, so I highly recommend everyone join. There's a link in the description. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. I wish you guys the best of luck opening your chests, the last 2 ones, whether it be this one or tomorrow's. Good luck on the Nemesis dungeons, and I'll see you all next time.